What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are having a great morning so far. It was a phenomenal trading morning, as you can see from these executions. I do have a live trade recording for you guys today, so I'll play that in a few minutes here. I just wanted to quickly recap the trade that we took last night, because we did end up taking a trade last night, and I mentioned in the live trade recording that I would recap it for you guys. So real quick, let's just recap this, and then we'll get into the live trade recording. But what we have here is after market closed, futures closed up, right? We had this futures gap open, so we have a new day opening gap. I marked this as old new day opening gap today, but technically it's the gap from last night, so it's still a new day opening gap. So just ignore that. But long story short, we have that new day opening gap. If you go over to Edgeful, which you don't need to understand this data, but if you go over to the reports, you go to gap fill data, and you go to the time in which we create this new day opening gap from futures close to futures open there, you can see the data is extremely high that we end up filling those the night of, right? There's always times where we leave that gap open and end up trading to that in the New York session. That's always a high probable draw on liquidity as well. But in this case, right, we can see that on a gap up, 89% of the time we fill it, and on a gap down, 97% of the time we fill this. So chances are extremely high that this gets filled. And then knowing that, we also have all these relative equal lows that I was looking to get taken out. So we had the futures open. We pumped to the upside. I had it marked. I'm losing my place on where we are here, so give me a second. What was it? Yeah, we had hourly bearish fair value that we were tapping into. So you see hourly bearish fair value. We were tapping into that. So that is the PD array that I was using on the higher time frame to kind of give me direction here. You can see right here, we have a bit of a bearish order block, or a bearish change in the state, whatever you want to call that. I initially took an entry off that, and then we were holding this bearish breaker. We didn't run through that like I wanted to, so I ended up just getting out of the position for basically break even. I could have stayed in that position with my initial risk, and that would have played out actually, but I just thought we were going to have to manipulate the highs again, so excuse me. So I just I took off the position and waited and said, you know, if this is going to go, I can find another entry at the breaker. And so that's what I did. Market didn't end up having to manipulate the highs again. My initial entry was fine, but I just stayed level-headed and saw this breaker entry, right? We took out this breaker here. We created bearish fair value on a lower time frame here as well. That's where my entry was. We also have, I believe it was a 5-minute. Oh, I'm losing my spot again. There we are. Yep, we also created 5-minute bearish fair value there, which I expected to hold. And so that's where my entry was, of course, targeting that gap. I had some orders to take off at the gap fill and then at these lows and just below the lows, because I anticipated that we would get an aggressive move through those lows, as we usually do, and we did, right? It was absolutely beautiful. And then you can see the whole way down as well. You can see all these fair value gaps that I marked, because I'm just sitting here watching price. And I know, right, when price is trading here, I know we have bearish fair value here. We've already traded into this bearish fair value. We shouldn't have to trade up here. So what am I expecting? I'm expecting price to tap into this area and respect this entire area to go lower, right? Wicks above are fine, but I want to see candle bodies close below consequence encroachment of this fair value gap. We see that, right? Another fair value gap forms. What happens? The exact same thing, right? We tap in. Do we get any candle bodies closing over consequence encroachment? No, zero. Only wicks hitting. That's totally fine. And then we continue lower, and that's when the aggression started after this fair value gap. I did pyramid into this entry, so I took first entry here off the breaker. I took second entry off the fair value gap rejection, and then I took third entry a little bit lower. It wasn't too good of an entry, to be completely honest. If we're being good traders here, my target is this. Sorry, my target, or those are equal lows. My target is this. The high is this. Equilibrium, any trades taken, you know, when I'm looking short or long and we're halfway to target, I'm only willing to take positions, you know, if I'm looking short above equilibrium, at or just below, right? I'm not looking to take shorts down here. So this entry was a little late. I wanted to get some more contracts on so the money, you know, the gains were bigger when I was taking profits. And I was just so confident that we would take the gap fill that I was fine with taking this lower entry. But I just want to I want to preface that is not ideally what we want to do as good traders there. So a great trade there. Gave me some little bit of extra money to go into the New York session with. And then the New York session, of course, we absolutely killed it on this trade. And still waiting to see if we want to take out that 8:30 a.m. open and that midnight open. So we'll see if that wants to happen. But let's get into the live trade recording. I appreciate everybody supporting the channel recently. I know we're getting back on YouTube. It's been fun making the videos, so I appreciate everybody with the support. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. And without further ado, let's get into the trade recording. All right, so I'm short NASDAQ here. Got to stop just above this down close candle here. I'm looking for a rebalance to standard deviation. We absolutely pumped all morning long. I was actually looking for an initial rebalance to midnight open, but we had all this untapped liquidity you can see up above, just really, really smooth highs that I kind of ignored there, and didn't get what I wanted to that midnight open this morning. So we absolutely pumped. I've been waiting for a potential setup for the short. Right here, we have this very small inverse for value gap, which is trying to hold its best here. You see we're getting a reaction off consequence encroachment, which is good. But kind of a shady setup here. We got a change in the state of delivery. Not much displacement on that, right? Actually, no displacement. You see we didn't create any fair value gaps, which is not a good sign for me. But I'm only in a starter position. I'm looking to add to this position if we can break this here, which would be a bearish breaker. And I could add to my position there. Now, of course, the rebalance to midnight open can still happen. I'm still potentially looking for that. Looks like we're going to get stopped out on this, by the way. But I can still be looking for that midnight open move. But maybe I'm kind of looking at the standard deviation area, seeing that we have, you know, fair value and some equal lows there that we could sweep and definitely get a pop off of. So I'd probably want to trim there, trim into 8:30 open, and then, you know, final target be that midnight open if we were to even get it. If I get stopped on this here, I'm not going to be changing my bias. I have us potentially shooting up to this 25,100 where I have a daily bearish order block. And I also have 15-minute bearish fair value that we can definitely go see. So willing to lose here. We're also already up on the day from last night. Last night I took a small trade and was able to make myself a little bit of cushion for the day. I did already try one short in macro time. It was a little bit of an early short, but we got this order block, and I wanted to try it off that order block. We also had a rejection block up here that I ended up deleting, a few other things that I ended up deleting there. So tried that, got out pretty fast for a 20-point loss on one contract, so really not much loss there. And again, it's only chipping away very small at the gains that I already have. So again, even if we take this loss as well, 2 losses in a row, we would still be green on the day and looking forward to be taking another trade. So really choppy here. Price is not acting super efficient, but I somewhat like that because that means that the bullish move is starting to potentially come to an end. After hitting the big targets we did. Now, of course, I can be wrong on what I think there, and higher time frame we can continue higher. Of course, really the highest that I have us going is going to be this daily bearish order block. But in terms of efficiency, we're kind of losing that as of now. Whether or not we pick up another leg up and get efficiency again in this market or not, we'll see, right? I don't know that yet. But yeah, we'll see how this one goes here. Still reacting well off this inversion. Every time we tap into this inversion, or I mean, we've kind of been trading in it this whole time, but we're trying our best to hold consequence encroachment. But I won't be surprised if this gets stopped. We're accumulating when we might need to get another manipulation leg up here. And that means we're just generating sell side here, right? So I might be a little early. Looks like we're going to get stopped. And that's okay. All good. Keeping those losses very small. Again, edgeful data on midnight open. We are pretty far from midnight open right now, but there is still a 62% chance we go see that. Again, doesn't have to happen. Sometimes it does not happen, even when you have all the data pointing towards it. I want to see us get back onto this change in the state. You can see how bearish change in the state, we're actually holding it every time we wick down to it. It's not really a good sign for the bears here. So again, just choppy, inefficient price action so far. I'm okay with putting myself in that because I'm light sized. But can't argue that this is not great price action here. But we're building structure, right? Which is a good thing. That's what we want to see for a potential short. We're building structure. It might mean we need to take these highs again, which stops me out. Maybe if we were able to make a move lower into this bearish breaker, even if we don't make the move through it and get the pyramid entry that I want, I can still potentially move my stop down and limit risk here on this trade even more. So we're cruising. By the way, I hope the video quality is a bit better. I know the last two videos it wasn't so good. So yeah, just all candle bodies pretty much respecting this change in the state to the downside, which again, to the downside, we want to see us get under that and respect it to the downside, right? And instead, every time we come down to it, getting these wicks off of there. Still holding inversion, but it doesn't take much for us to just pop over the top of this inversion and get back going to highs. We can take a look at ES. Doesn't look like ES is making any SMT unless it's on a bigger time frame. When was that? I don't have my charts side by side right now, so it's hard to tell. Monday. Yeah, we're over both those highs. Let's just put this down here because that is full target. And I'm looking to add to this position. Can add at this bearish breaker. My only issue is we have so much bullish for value on the bigger time frame. But I have to be a little preemptive and anticipate that we run through that, since my draw on liquidity is that midnight open. Again, targets will be standard deviation at these relative equal lows with bullish fair value sitting here. That's, you know, one TP. We have another TP at 8:30 a.m. open. We have another TP, you know, last TP at midnight open there. It's possible I'm not able to get 3 contracts on for this position. We'll see. Whether I'm able to or not, that'll decide, you know, kind of my last targets there a little more. So we'll see. Can we really make the break under this change in the state and keep it going? I always like to invert my charts too, just because I do see the moves much better from a bullish perspective. I know it's kind of weird, but something that kind of helps me out here and there. It's not going to make or break your trading, of course. So I'm moving stop down just above this previous high that was above this inversion. As we continue to drill lower, if we drill lower, if we're able to get through this breaker here, I'll be able to move my stop more towards break even. But I'm also looking to add to this, right? I don't have full risk on yet. If we could get a 5-minute change in the state to the downside, that would really help things out here. But I fear when I look at this 5-minute chart, it seems like we need to build more structure here before just going lower. Unless this is one of those days where we kind of rip up and then just V to the downside. You know, just sharp down from the highs. That doesn't happen too often from what I see, at least personally. Generally, we're going to build that structure a bit more. We also have this bullish fair value gap trying to hold us. I want to see this become inversion, which, get that closure under there. Do have to be careful here. I do expect a bit of a bounce initially. Again, we haven't built enough structure here, at least from what I think, that I won't be surprised if we bounce here, take it back to highs, manipulate those highs again, then set up to take out this liquidity, and to drill it lower. Again, nice reaction from bulls. At this point, we should just be able to hold the change in the state, so I'm moving my stops down just above consequence encroachment of this inverse fair value gap. If this is going to go my way, we should respect the midpoint of this. We already traded, above it, like after getting through it, we already traded back above it, right? Traded inside of it. Then we started respecting midpoint. We should not have to go back above this, that level. So moving stops down to there. And this allows me to, if I do pyramid into a position now, my risk can be similar to what it was initially because my stops have moved down from the initial position taken. So respecting the change in the state, that's a nice reaction that I like to see from the change in the state here. Get down to a 30-second chart here. I'm still not fully convinced on this at all. We're not getting the efficiency and price yet that I know we can see. We're not getting that aggression that I know we can see. To me, it still feels like bulls are in control. And bears haven't truly taken over yet. I can start to change here pretty quickly, though. I'm going to use this breaker instead. This 5-minute breaker, it's a little more enticing for this move. and it matches up with this inversion a bit better. You can see consequence encroachment for both PD arrays almost match up perfectly. Starting to get moving. Looks like we're going to try and create bearish 5-minute fair value here. I wouldn't mind trying to get an entry back in on that, especially at this 5-minute bearish change in the state. Again, full targets that midnight open. Got to be watching that 8:30 open as well. Again, still not seeing the aggression in price I want to see. I know we've been moving in my favor, but really just not seeing that aggression in price that I want to see. Moving stops basically to break even, just over that high. Because if we pop back up, we should be able to respect this 5-minute breaker that just... That was a 3-minute breaker that I marked. Either way, it doesn't matter. I didn't realize that, though. I thought it was a 5-minute breaker. Either way, that doesn't change anything. I just marked that slightly wrong there. This is not a 5-minute breaker. This is a 3-minute bearish breaker. Apologies. But stops go just above this high. We shouldn't have to trade above that high anymore. Bearish order block here. I'd like to see us respect that. Taking an ad there. Stops are staying in the same place as of now. Add limit order at that 8:30 open. What I don't want to see here is us try and respect the bottom of this 15-minute PD array and sweep these lows here. I want to see us displace through these lows. It's okay to get a little bounce here, but I want to see us ultimately get continuation, respect this 3-minute breaker, and continue lower. Again, we shouldn't have to trade all the way up here. Stop is there. Risk on this is about 26 points. 26 points with 2 contracts is $104, so still risking less than what I'm up on the day. Probably could have waited for this re-entry here. I took my re-entry a little low. You can see my re-entry was at the low of that candle. Could have done better there. Could have waited for this retest of the order block. I was thinking, though, since we already retested it multiple times, we wouldn't have to. but I should have been anticipating that since we are going to sweep this low, that we might see a little bounce back to that. So a little bit of a mistake there, but we learn from that. That's one thing I do want to get better at doing with these pyramid entries, is just finding those really good spots to be adding into positions. I'm usually I've been getting better at it. In the past, I haven't been so good at it, but been getting better. This morning is not a great representation of how you should be pyramiding into entries or into positions, but it is what it is. Biggest thing is I'm okay with the risk, right? The risk is good. Even with that ad being a bit lower, the risk is still amazing. So what I'm watching here, for the most part, is the standard deviation. I have to expect a bounce there, unfortunately. It's inside of 15-minute for value. We also have macro time coming up, 10:50 macro. I'd like to see that be expansion into the lows more, but not into the lows, but into these internal lows I'm talking about. I'm still just not seeing that real nasty aggression in price that I want to see. And sometimes we catch a move that's a little more slow rolling, and that's okay. But generally, when I'm trading to the short side, I want to see that aggression. Of course, in any position, I want to see that aggression to the long side as well. But I'm more okay being in a position long that is slow rolling, especially when if we're near all-time highs, because that just means volatility is low or lower. Yeah, but when we're short, I generally like to see more aggression. So maybe in the macro time here, we get a little bit more aggressive. Again, a lot of people might be hearing me say that and say, but Jordan, like this whole time it's been moving in your direction. I understand that. But what I look at is, I mean, look at how long it's taken us to get here. Look at how fast we ripped up here. Right? I want that aggression. And unfortunately, I missed any of the up move this morning. There was a nice change in the stage delivery here. Never reached that midnight open, never took out London low. But we had that nice change in the state, which was beautiful going into the market open. You also had a breaker here, bullish breaker. It's beautiful. So multiple opportunities to get in. I was still under the impression that we wanted to go to midnight open from that point, so I wasn't taking advantage of that move. Seeing a little bit more aggression step in. Continuing to see bottom wicks on a lot of these candles. Not really getting these full red candle bodies to the downside yet. It would really be a treat to go take out all these lows here. I don't know that we would be able to do all that, but it would be very nice. So my first trims are at 8:30 open right now. The standard deviation is going to be a point of interest for bulls, though, in my opinion, especially because you have relative equal lows from earlier this morning. Which is, it's not like these are prominent relative equal lows. These are just two candles next to each other. It's not like we have a low and then a low. So it's not that prominent, but we have a decent amount of bullish for value just under that, matching up with standard deviation. I can't really ignore that. What level is this? New York session high. It'd also be a back test of previous day high. So we're getting into 1050 macro here. Unfortunately, this could potentially be manipulation macro to the downside to move higher later. I don't want it to be. And we're starting to see some more aggression step in on the short side. But can't ignore that it might just be manipulation to go against me. If not, we're going to get absolutely paid today. It's 80 points in profit so far. Equilibrium of this move. Technically, we're looking for midnight open. So equilibrium is until down here. So given that we're 80 points in profit, we remove risk from this trade completely. We should not have to trade all the way back up here at all. So risk-free trade now. Yeah, that was a perfect bounce off previous day high there. I really want to see us get trading under that, ideally. Also, initial balance has formed. I'd like to see, it's a 73% chance we break IB high first now. So given that, I'm buying one back. The chances are just too high against me here to fuck around. The chances are just too high. So still removing risk from this trade. It's a risk-free trade. I'm only holding one contract now, though. I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to take this last contract off at 8:30 a.m. open or try and hold it for midnight open. I'll probably look to see what the reaction is off 8:30 a.m. open. This is also a great representation this morning, guys, of how you can take a couple losses and find yourself a beautiful winner. Or I guess I took one loss. And also, that's easier to do when I gave myself some cushion from the night before. I'll recap this trade in the recap in a little bit later today, but we'll talk about that. Nothing crazy there. Nothing too spicy. I would love to see this be a breakaway gap, us form bearish for value here, and never have to trade into this and keep this open. I don't know that this could be a breakaway gap yet because we don't have two fair value gaps stacked quite yet, but I can be a little bit preemptive here and anticipate that we're going to make a fair value gap. Beautiful moves in our favor. From initial entry, 946, up about 150 points. Of course, I'm not holding that contract anymore. Got rid of that into standard deviation just to be safe, given the odds of the initial balance data from Edgeful. Of course, even if we end up going to midnight open, which has a 62% chance today, so we have we have data kind of conflicting with each other. That's where I'm going to be safe. I'm going to take some profits, especially when that first profit being taken was at 82. That was at 120 points. First TP. Can't really be mad about being safe and taking some profits there, even if we end up going all the way to midnight open like I originally planned. Here's equilibrium of the New York session. We really saw that aggression step in on this candle, and then we've really gotten that continuation since then. You guys heard me. I was a little sketched out when we weren't seeing that efficiency, but you can see right after we break this low, get through that, you have a 1 minute breaker, you have that 3 minute breaker we marked. That's where we added. The add wasn't too great, but it was good enough. For those that don't know, we've hit equilibrium. Equilibrium being hit on your way to target, which my full target is midnight open, but I'm just using New York session equilibrium. Any entries under equilibrium when you're short, not ideal. Right? Not going to be ideal there. Let's overlap. Just cancel the buy stop there. Looks like we're going to be creating bearish for value. This also just goes to show, guys, I'm trading fundeds alongside with this, but, I've been trading max 2 contracts on this account today, and you can still make some great money, right? You can still make some phenomenal money. Of course, I did make $200 extra last night, and then I lost about, I don't know, $30 here or something. I can't even tell. What's 25-point loss on, what's a 20-point loss, 22-point loss on one contract, whatever that is. $44. I can feel myself getting a little emotional here. And I'm wanting to just honestly get out of this trade and take my profits. Unfortunately here, we have a double fair value gap set up, which rule of thumb here if you guys don't know, is when we have two fair value gaps stacked, we treat the first fair value gap as a breakaway gap. We don't want to see price trade back into this zone. And then obviously this is our normal fair value gap. This is where we would look for entries if we were looking to enter off of a breakaway gap setup. I'm not looking to add to my position anymore here, personally. So I'm okay with a pop here. I really don't want to see us trade into this gap. I want to see this stay completely open. Any taps into this bearish fair value is totally fine. But I want to see us never have to trade to consequence encroachment, because the rule of thumb is entry taken here, you should never have to trade to that consequence encroachment, or at least over it. So when you're trading these, the position entry can look something like this. Right? And let's say your target is midnight open. 8:30 open is a 2.3 risk reward ratio. Midnight open is a 5R trade there. So even if you miss the entry that I took, right, and you're looking at this and you're confident we're going to go to these lows and, you know, sell off into all this untapped liquidity, London, Asia, New York session lows just lined up for you. If you're really confident in that happening, right, you can take this entry and have a beautiful risk to reward ratio and know for a fact that you're wrong here. We should not have to trade up here. And if we do, you do not want to be short anymore. Right? So that's another potential position you could be taking here. Again, I'm not taking that. I could look to add at that area. But given the morning, given that I already made some money last night, I'm just going to sit with what I got. Don't want to add to a position, bring my average down too much, take a bunch of risk, and give back what I've already made. So, little bounce after taking out equilibrium of the New York session range. I'm obviously still looking for us to move lower. Still haven't decided if I want to remove this limit order at 8:30 a.m. open and try and go for the midnight open. Honestly, here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to delete this order. If we end up trading to midnight open, that's awesome. Or 8:30 open, excuse me. That will be awesome. What I'll look to do is, if we just bounce off of it and rip, I'll have to trail my stop and deal with that. But ideally, we get a nice move through it and we start to trade away from it even further towards midnight open. And that's where I'll be able to find a spot to finally move my stop to 8:30 open. And so what that allows me to do is, no matter what, whether or not I get what I want at midnight open, if we come back and try and test that 8:30 open and try and get above it, I get stopped out at that 8:30 open, which is what I would have been taking profits for anyways. Right, so that's the thought process here. Obviously, that's a little tough to do. It can be hard because sometimes you end up putting your stop there too early. We go back test that area and then drill it lower, right? So I'm going to do my best to try and pick the right time and understand price action and when it's telling me to move my stop or not. But we'll see. Price action getting a little slower here. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. We're starting to get into the time that I don't want to be in any trades anymore. Where I know price can slow down a lot. what I'm trying to fight with here in my head is we have lunchtime coming up. I know it's high probable that we get what I want into midnight open and 8:30 open. But even with that said, do I want to put myself in a position to sit through a ton of chop, potential chop, through lunch? That's what I'm fighting with in my head here. I'm also fighting with, we can retest this 5-minute fair value gap and it'd be fine, but I really don't want to see us test it, if that makes sense. Like we can, and everything will be totally fine for this move, but I don't really even want to see us trade up here on a lower time frame chart at all. I'd rather see us look at, we just created another 5-minute bearish for value gap. Now we have 3 stacked on each other. I'd like to see us just respect this one, to be completely honest with you, and move lower. And so these are the thoughts that I'm having right now that is pushing me to want to just take my profits right now and walk away. Which I can definitely do. But that's not how we hit massive trades in the market. That's not how we hit what my original entry was, 946. That's not how we hit over 200-point bangers, right? From this entry, still up 170, almost 200 points just on that. I'm taking it off. Taking it off. I'm taking my profits. I'm up way more on this specific account than I even desired to be for the day. That was a little bit of an emotional exit, I won't lie. But given how many points I'm up, the beautiful move we caught, I don't need to see 8:30 open. I don't need to see midnight open. If we see it, that's beautiful. If you guys are still trading for that, I think that's amazing. I really don't want to screw around with this anymore. I'm good. I've been in this trade for a while now. We're getting into the time that I don't want to really be in. I think we definitely can continue to this 8:30 open, potentially midnight open, potentially sell off all the way into these lows, and I'll be excited to see if that happens. But I don't need to stay in this trade. I've made what I needed to make from this. We're up $763 on the day. The account started today at about $2,600, I believe. Maybe slightly, maybe $2,800 because I made like $200 last night. Now we're sitting at $3,300 on the small account here. So beautiful stuff. Taking that exit. Again, we can rebalance all the way up to this fair value gap. And the short is still potentially on. But I don't want to screw around with it. I'm good. There's no lie that was an emotional exit. Right? I let how much I'm up on my account and outside factors make a decision there for me. But given that I'm over what my daily target is for this specific account, I have no reason to stay in the position, guys. So again, little bit of back and forth there where it's like, on one hand, I want to be following my plan. On another hand, I want to be taking my profits here and getting out. I believe that was a 200-point exit on that last exit there. Let's see, 895. $24.75. Not quite. 170-point exit. Absolutely beautiful. Cannot be mad about that. So just some things to take away from this. The pyramid entry that I took, could have done that a little bit better to, keep some extra money in my pocket. After we sweep these lows, even though I anticipate us to trade through them, I have to anticipate initially that we sweep these lows and get a little bit of a bounce back to that order block, back to that bearish breaker, back to that inverse, which is where I can take that pyramid entry versus taking the pyramid entry, what is this? 20 points lower, right? So I just gave up 20 points right there just on that re-entry, which is okay given the big move that I caught, but just something I can do much better there. Something else I could do better is here. I was a bit preemptive. That we had no inversion, we had no structure built, but I took the shot and tried to short off this change in the state. Very quickly got stopped out. That's okay given the money that I made last night and the way that I was only in, one contract with a starter position. But a beautiful trading morning, ladies and gents. That's how we do it. Obviously, going to continue to watch and see if we want to hit this 8:30 open, this midnight open. I think that would be an absolute treat for everybody that's waiting for it. And if you took your profits like me, go enjoy the day. That was a beautiful trade. Whether or not this goes all the way, I think we did good there, and I'm happy with my exit. Now, I will say that again, even as a trader with experience, you're gonna struggle with these emotions, right? And deciding whether or not what you should do in these situations. And I just hope that these videos can kind of show you guys that you never stop struggling with that, really. It does get easier, for sure. You learn to mitigate those emotions and follow your plan. But it doesn't really get easier. You guys hear me going through my thought process the whole time during this trade this morning, right? It's tough. But this is trading, right? This is what real trading is. Trading is hard. Trading is tough. But trading is simple, right? And it really does come down to following your plan and not really seeking money every day, but seeking opportunity and seeking to follow your plan with proper risk management. You do that every day, and you're a step closer to success. So I love all y'all. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing on the channel. I will continue to put out more of these videos. I really hope you guys are enjoying them. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.